Would I want to do prosthetics again? I was like, I actually would. I really would. I mean, I'm always nervous about having to shave the beard off. It does grow back fairly quickly, funnily enough. There is always that as a consideration as far as I'm concerned. So if we can do prosthetics without, keep the beard, great.
We'll see you in court.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Oh, hi, Mark.
It's delicious. Oh my God!
And now you've gone through the whole process. You've done Fright Fest, and you've got a very exciting Blu-ray release, which has just come out. How does it feel now being out the other side from coming up with the idea all that time ago?
Weird. It's so strange because it's still ongoing and now it's really getting out into the public. I'm really delighted by the reactions I've been getting so far. And I noticed, I haven't checked IMDb today, but I spotted the other day it's gone up from 6.9 to 7.1 overnight, so which I think means that it's
nice.
So, yes, which is very nice because I've only seen it with other people at festivals so far, though there was a screening at my home. My husband's knitting group came round to have a look at the film because I've seen it on the big screen, I've seen it with big, and seen all the reactions, but how does it work on the small screen and a small intimate space? And it worked really well. Excited and just kind of can't quite believe it's over, really. It's not over. It's going to be going on hopefully for a long time, and I want to be talking to people about it for a while, I hope.
It is a very intimate film, and it is one that I think, well, it's great to see it with a crowd. It's also, it feels like a conversation, and it's a very kind of, obviously a very personal story. So having you in your living room, in someone's living room, narrating your life to them is a very nice way to spend a cold winter's evening, I would say. Maybe you could do it. Maybe you could do a tour of living rooms or something, kind of bespoke recreation of the film. So, well, now that the film is getting a physical media release, how did that decision come about? Are you a kind of avid supporter or collector of physical media? Is it just something that felt right for this particular film?
Yes, I do. I wouldn't say I'm an avid supporter. I do collect physical media, and I'm very glad of the ones that I've got because with digital, they can kind of disappear into the ether, even though you've bought them. And because I'm working with Dark Rift, with Stuart Spark and Paul Butler, that is very much as they are co-producers of the film, they wanted to establish the company, as I say, Dark Rift Releasing, who just specialize in physical media. And I'll take this as a prompt to show people what we're actually talking about. So this is it with the number. This is a nice low number. This one happens to be going to my manager, Chris. So you actually get the Blu-ray. This one's not signed yet. It will be signed. And then inside, you've got the disc, and then you've got 4 postcards, and there's a booklet in there as well. So it's a nice, and you've got the possibility for a wee bit extra to have it dedicated as well. I'm really proud of it. One of the things that just makes my heart sing is that cover by Graham Humphreys.
That's gorgeous. Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. I mean, it really does. And then even the title, Ashley Thorpe, a gentleman called Ashley Thorpe, I did the design of that. I've been really lucky to surround myself with really good people.
Well, one of those postcards will be finding space on my menagerie of posters and things behind me. So next time we talk, you can expect one up there. For people that haven't seen the film or our previous interview, what was it about now and wanting to tell your story now in this way?
So I've done the one-man show on which the film is based back in 2019 as part of the London Horror Festival. And then thinking, obviously, I'd take it out on tour. Obviously, didn't happen because of COVID. But during that, a gentleman called Mitch Harrod, who runs the Soho Horror Festival, and did an online version and just asked me if I would consider. He'd seen the show and he just said, "Could you do a couple of scenes from it?" And I thought, okay, just use your phone and around the home. And I just thought, actually, this is kind of a nice way. We've talked, you've mentioned earlier on, it's a conversation. It's obviously very one-sided, but just the idea of talking to the camera, telling stories to the camera, I found absolutely fascinating. And then once got through COVID, etc., I approached Paul Butler and Stuart Spark from Dark Rift and saying, do you think we can do this? And they leapt at the chance, fortunately.
And did you discover any realizations of where you've come from as an actor and what you then want to do going forward? Because obviously you talk a lot about being, behind the monster makeup, and then now kind of you're shifting into more speaking roles, which is great. And you have, by the way, a very iconic horror voice, so I think we should be seeing and hearing more of that, so that's great.
Thank you.
But did you kind of, as you were putting the film together, did you come to realizations that actually I have really enjoyed that transition, or that you want to do more of exploring those horror characters?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think there were a lot of personal realizations in terms of emotion and memory, and actually because the film was expanded on the original stage play, I discovered so much more about the dental surgery that's talked about in the film. Yes, somebody's asked me, saying, okay, well, will you be doing I Am Monsters on stage again? And I said, yeah, I would actually like to do that, because there is something really special about having a conversation with a live audience. In terms of doing more horror stuff, thank you for the compliment about my voice, because I've just finished doing a voiceover for somebody, actually. The other thing, of course, is would I want to do prosthetics again? I was like, I actually would. I really would. I mean, I'm always nervous about having to shave the beard off. It does grow back fairly quickly, funnily enough. There is always that as a consideration as far as I'm concerned. So we can do prosthetics without, keep the beard, great. Because there is so much fun in doing mask work. Just, it's, as an actor, it does excite me. Because it's you're so much further from yourself than when you are just playing more straight roles. So yeah, I'd love to. If the opportunity arose, absolutely.
How do you decide what projects you want to work on, and what is it that excites you in a script or a story or a character?
It's a good question. It's intelligence. Is it something more than just a series of jump scares or gross outs? I've never been a huge fan of splat. I've always talked about intelligent horror because, of course, I grew up on things like the Universal monsters, Roger Corman's, Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe films. Those are the things that really got me interested in horror films to begin with. That is not to say I don't like stalk and slash. I do. I love Freddy, and I'm a big fan of those aces things. But horror to me really can speak to the human condition, because it's about love, sex, and death normally. And these are important topics. So I think if you're bringing something more to the party, if you're putting in more moral dilemmas, if you're putting in something that just basically speaks to the human condition, and I think that's really interesting. So that tends to be what I look for in a script.
And is there anything within horror that you haven't yet explored as an actor that you would like to? Are there any sort of subgenres that leap out to you? I could see you in a sort of a glorious folk horror kind of hat and cape, sort of across some smoky hills.
I can keep my beard for those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I kind of done one, funnily enough, with Anthony. I did do a folk horror. They're Outside, I think, is definitely based in that kind of area. Yeah, see, I do come back to mask work. I was immediately thinking of Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Which actually you recommended to me the last time we spoke, and I have since seen it and loved it. So thank you for that.
Good.
I loved it, yeah.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. It is so weird. But I just think, the look of it, the style of it is really interesting. So yeah, I'd like to do more creature stuff. Involved with that's kind of what my wheelhouse. Creature features are the things that I guess I really enjoy creature features.
Let's talk about your current project, or one of your current projects, Advent, which just
Yes.
had its premiere at Fright Fest Halloween in London. Firstly, again, great use of the voice. Very much enjoyed the Professor tone. But I love Christmas horror, and it's a very interesting take on a very simple premise. But I liked the idea of something horrible happening, or something mysterious happening behind every day. Can you talk a little bit about how you became to be involved in Advent and what the general theme is?
Isn't how I got involved was Errol Anthony Hales showed me the script, asked me to be involved, and I thought, oh yeah, this is fun. And I have a very personal connection to Advent calendars in that I'm an RAF baby. So I was born in Germany in '58. I have two brothers. Suddenly these German Advent calendars turned up one year. And they came from the lady who had helped my mum wash with me and the housework and so on when they were in Germany. She'd become really good friends. We was referred to as Tante Monica, Aunt Monica. I only met her once, I think. But we got these beautiful German Advent calendars, which had chocolates behind every window. And then when you open them up, it showed you how to put a candle behind the plastic so that you could shine the candle through the plastic that held the chocolates. So it's just like, oh, Advent calendar, yeah, definitely. And I really like the premise, as you say. What I find very interesting about it as well is the premise of mental health. And why would you do this? Like all these things with horror films, is like, stop being stupid. It's just like, stop. But I think it really nicely explains why this young woman and what she's going through. And I liked that.
The whole kind of Krampus angle and all the classic horror stories that your character talks about and delves into the kind of ancient Christmas side, and then the modern kind of found footage angle, and mixing those two was really interesting and yeah, really good fun to watch. Seemed like quite a nice cushy job for you as well, because you get to sit down in a nice cozy room and deliver this sort of eloquent monologue.
Thank you. Yes, it was lovely. Yeah, we did it. It was an evening shoot, and it was cold. I remember I got there by Uber, and it was a very nice lady's house that we were using for the day, and they had this roaring fire in the back of it, and it was roaring, and it was so hot. They had to move me at one point because the chair was getting so hot, and I'm just it's like. So it was good, and it was like I remember I was fighting off a cold as well. So it was kind of nice just to be in a really nice thing. So it was fun. I remember I was thinking about this. As far as I remember, there was a moment where the lovely lady whose house we was watching and gave a round of applause at the end of one of the takes. It's like, well, that's very nice. It's weird because one doesn't normally get rounds of applause when you're on film sets. And it was really nice to see that she'd really got into it.
Going from the 80s kind of height of cosmic horror and body horror, and I presume big budgets or bigger budgets, and then now working in very intimate kind of grassroots, in some respects, filmmaking. How has that kind of shift been for you? And was there a point when you thought, I'm getting to be more involved in them, and I'm being more involved in kind of filmmakers of tomorrow?
It's exciting. It's really exciting, and it's interesting. I think this is one of I think I regard myself as very lucky. You mentioned earlier on that the young filmmakers who basically come to my work through Hellraiser or Nightbreed. That is fun. That's something as an actor, really fortunate to be in that position. What I like about it particularly is you're very much closer to the crew than you are on a very big production. It's not unheard of for actors to lift stuff up and move them around on independent, whereas if you're on a big production, the unions might have something to say as to who should move stuff around. So I think that's the kind of the immediate thing, and is I think you're a lot closer, more tightly knit, which I find really fun. I appreciate that. It's not that I wouldn't happily work on a big production again if the opportunity arose. Of course I would. But it is, it's fun. I do appreciate that. And I think you get to spend more time with the director and the rest of the cast and the crew and hang out and so on. So that's always really cool.
And was there a point for you in your career where you realized that you had become a bit of a horror icon? Like when you started getting invited to all the conventions and the Comic-Cons and people started embracing your classic roles. Was there that point where you were aware of that moment?
Honestly, it became 10 years after Hellraiser when I was invited across to Boston. So we are talking about 97 for the 10th anniversary of Hellraiser. And it was like, it was so strange to me. I had no idea what this was about at all. And then I got to meet and chat with people and discover just how much the work means to them. The fact that we're still able to do this nearly 40 years after the film is also extraordinary as far as I'm concerned, and wonderful. And again, I'm not only very grateful, but really do appreciate how fortunate I am as an actor to be in this position. But that was the moment. It was back in 97. Whereas I thought, oh wow, this kind of thing exists, because at that time really wasn't aware of it in the UK. Obviously now in the UK you definitely do get conventions. In Aberdeen or Sheffield, you get these things happening, and they're really good fun.
And are you surprised when younger people have a kind of fascination, a love for classic horror, and you meet kind of the younger generation of horror fans? Is that a surprising moment for you?
It's a lovely moment. It's the conversation I always, because it takes me a while to write my signature, because I always do my little doodle as well. So I always like to chat to people turning up. I just like to honor that experience for them. So the usual question is, okay, so when did you first see Hellraiser? And a lot of them is, yeah, way too young. A lot of the conversations happen in America where they've got a different, the laws were different. As I say, when we were making Hellraiser, I remember no conversations about, oh, the kids are going to love this bit. The fact that you do get people saying, so who showed it? Did you watch it on your own? Yes, watched it on my own on cable TV, watched it at a friend's house. Sometime a few years back, it used to be people were betting $10 that you couldn't sit through Hellraiser.
Oh wow! Okay.
The people encouraging the betting were elder siblings and babysitters. I remember having conversations with people about babysitting. One of my favorite conversations I had with a young woman, this is a few years back now, she said, oh, well, she said, I have to tell you this story. There was one of our friends we showed, and they were teenagers, they're probably about 16, 17 years old, or possibly a little younger, that they'd shown the film. And one of the girls was very affected and really scared of Chattery. And they said, oh, you do know he lives in the local woods. And apparently this story kind of went round the school. And it was just, I loved the idea that somewhere in America, who knows, even to this day, there may be woods where the kids believe that Chatterer lives in the woods. I love that idea.
That's like a German fairy tale or something. The wood chatterer. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Go to the woods and you meet Chatterer. That would not be a pleasant experience.
It's fantastic to see both the kind of culmination of I Am Monsters, looking back at your career, and then also being able to look forward at all these indie projects that you're doing and other projects that you're doing. That range of work, and that you're still kind of embracing horror and clearly loving it as well.
Thank you. Well, we should actually give a shout outs to a couple of other projects as well, because Charlie Steed's He Sees You When You're Sleeping came out at the beginning of November as well, and is online as well. And then, of course, How to Kill Monsters from Dark Rift, I think, is now been announced, and that's going to be the beginning of December in the USA, I believe. I'm really lucky, as I say, that these things are all just happening at the same time at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, huge congratulations on all of those projects, and very much looking forward to seeing the physical release of I Am Monsters, which people can get now.
Yes, so that's available if you go to darkrifthorror.com, and you can order it there. Shipping to the US, Australia, and the UK. Definitely be signed. It is possible to wait a little bit longer for a dedication.
And Advent is streaming in the UK from the 25th of November, and the US from early December, the 1st of December. Huge congratulations on all those projects. Pleasure to talk to you, as always. Thank you for taking the time, Nick, to talk to me, and best of luck with all these things.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris. It's always lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me.